you don't need to make it in your first crypto cycle. There's that crypto dream where you have millions of dollars, you cash out all of it, you retire, and you sail away into the sunset. In reality, that does not happen in one crypto cycle, unless you are extremely lucky and still quite highly skilled. Most likely, it takes people 3 cycles to truly make it. So your first cycle, you're new to crypto, you might buy some random coins, you get lucky on a few meme coins, you make some decent earnings. But 90% of the time, you're holding for that dream 100x. This coin's going to 100 billion. You get wrapped up in the delusion and you end up pretty much holding your bag all the way up and then all the way back down. Most of the time, especially if you are new, you end up getting quite late entry points, so you may even end up losing money in your first cycle. Then, of course, well, the traditional is the 4-year cycle in line with the Bitcoin halving, which might be slightly changing in the modern day, but moving into your second cycle, again, you have learnings from the first cycle. You know what to buy roughly, you can ride it on the way up. Since you get that PTSD, or I guess the flashbacks to that first cycle, you don't want to lose it this time. You can't just let it run back down. You end up selling, which is great. You lock in some profits. A lot of the time you may be selling too early, but in reality, it doesn't really matter that much. Your second cycle, you have your learnings, you've made some profits. It could be higher, but you're still happy with it. And then by the time you're ready for your third cycle, you've had all of these learnings, you've been in the crypto space for, 8 years plus at that point, you're going to truly nail it and lock in some life-changing gains and truly make it, as you may say. So a personal story, in my first cycle, I believe the main coin was AVAX and Phantom. I believe AVAX, I was holding it all the way up to over $100. I know, speaking of that now, it seems absolutely wild. And Phantom is now rebranded to Sonic, but Phantom was like $3.30 per token. I held those coins and held them pretty much all the way down through the FTX crash, the Terra Luna crash. It all pretty much crumbled in just a week. I didn't really know what to do, but it was fine. I held through and we're here now, so we have survived. Which is one of the main things and the takeaways I want you to take from this video. It doesn't really matter if you miss out on your gains. Of course, you would have loved to lock them in, but you losing the money or round tripping those gains, it's your learning lesson. The money that you may have lost, treat that as the cost to learn the lesson. For example, if you made 10 grand, didn't sell, and then ran that back down to say $1,000, you may have, in theory, lost out on 9,000. However, you now have that learning lesson that you're going to take profits next time. This would be magnified, say next time you had more money, you would have ran it up higher, but you wouldn't have had that learning lesson. So in theory, it would have cost you more if you learned it later rather than sooner. And a lot of people in crypto underestimate how long it takes to make it. You think you're going to buy one meme coin, you're going to hit 100x and you're going to be a millionaire. It really doesn't work like that. Which, of course, is the appeal of crypto. It draws people in thinking they're going to get rich quick. It's very easy to do. They think, I can just buy a coin, I'm going to get rich, I'm going to sell it. That is how these meme coins have these massive returns. Again, crypto is a zero-sum game. So you taking your profits when a coin's ran up is technically somebody else losing money. You always have to think of it like that. At the end of a cycle, of course, when everything comes crumbling down, people are sad, they're depressed, they think it is all over. But that is kind of the most important time in the market. These crashes are a blessing in disguise because it allows you to get an insane entry with pretty small risk, and then that is where the wealth is made. People see massive green candles during a cycle when you're, say, in the bull market and it may top. That money is made there, but it's a lot higher risk. The real money and the wealth is made once a cycle has crashed, and then you buy near the bottom, you simply hold it for a few years, and that is where you make your wealth. If you can learn to just take some decent profits during a cycle, you have those in stable coins ready for a market crash or a bull market to end, you can simply buy the dip and run it up even more. It's the multi-cycle compounding, which is probably the most important thing in crypto. Your first cycle, say you came out with $5,000. It may not seem a huge sum, but you could literally buy the bottom of pretty much any altcoin and then turn that in 5-10x quite easily. Which is why profit taking is one of the most important things. If you want to master that, you can check the top line of the description to join my community and program teaching you the best strategies to take profit to ensure you never round trip your gains. If you are holding coins though at the end of a cycle and you can see the price going down and down and down, obviously you don't really want to sell because you're thinking it's going to come back up. What's the point of me selling at a fraction of the price that my tokens once were? Which is true. You want to hold your position if you have a multi-cycle coin or you just have faith in the token. However, a lot of people in crypto may not have great cash flows. I know a lot of people who are, well, on X, they say they're unemployed and full-time crypto. It's important to have a good cash flow so you never have to sell your positions when they are down. For example, if you had Ethereum, we can see it peaked. We're over it was at $4,500. We can see that most recent crash at the start of this year, it went down to around $1,700, $1,800. Imagine you didn't have any cash flow. Your taxes were due. You were holding just Ethereum. You would be forced to sell your position literally at the bottom because you had to take care of something in the, external world. Which is why if you don't have a cash flow coming in to take care of everything and you're relying on your crypto, it's even more important to take those profits. If you had cash flow coming in, say your job pays well, or you have some real estate that you're getting some rental income from, it doesn't really matter if your crypto goes down. Of course, you'd be sad, but it's going to go up in the next cycle or in the future. Providing you just hold on to your position and survive, it will run back up. So cash flow is an important thing to make sure you do have, especially if you aren't the best at taking profits. And it's just the whole survival aspect. If you can survive, you will make it. It may take a long time, but survival is the key. I see people blow up their accounts on leverage. I personally would never recommend using leverage unless you are kind of an expert and specifically know what you are doing. But people will chase losses by cranking up the leverage and then blow up their portfolio. And if you have $100, you can run that back up. If you're at zero, you can't do anything with it, which is why it's important to survive, make your way through multi-cycles, literally compound cycle to cycle to cycle, and you will make it eventually. So just zoom out really. In terms of this cycle, currently Bitcoin is over $103,000 per coin. I know, personally, and a lot of Bitcoin maxis believe that Bitcoin is going to be $1 million one day. It may take a long time, but it will get there. So if you can imagine right now, of course, if you take profits, you might just want to bank it or to stablecoin it, but even taking profits to say Bitcoin. If you can say just get one Bitcoin right now, that is $100,000, a huge sum of money anyway. However, if you zoom out and just imagine in the future, one Bitcoin is $1 million of value. Like a value of Bitcoin at $1 million right now, say. That one Bitcoin, providing you can just hold it and you can survive, you will make it in the future. Which is why it's important to not blow up your portfolio, just take consistent profits along the way, compound through these multi-cycles, and eventually you will make it. So again, if you want to master how to take profits, check the top line of the description. If you found this video helpful, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.